Tonight, authorities warn of the dangers of smoke generated by fires burning near the Spencer Gulf, and dozens of children experience an early Christmas by being visited by a very busy Santa.
With the latest from around the region, your nightly news with Louise Hedger begins now.
Good evening. Residents of the Spencer Gulf are being warned to be careful of smoke inhalation, with smoke drifting across the region from bushfires burning nearby. Those in the Lower Yorke Peninsula have been forced to evacuate their homes, with multiple properties destroyed or damaged.
Fire crews scrambling to stop a fire tearing through the Lower Yorke Peninsula. Local farmers pitching in, helping the CFS in an attempt to save their land.
With the stubbles, there's just so much residue that the farmers have to keep going back and back and back and back and back to actually make sure it's out. There's nothing worse than just quickly going down it. You look in your rearview mirror and you've got the whole bloody fire going again behind you.
That's the main thing. The animals have just got nowhere to go. We've lost a couple of deer, but it could have been worse. Yeah.
Smoke blanketing neighbouring regions, caused by the multiple blazes which broke out in yesterday's catastrophic weather conditions.
There's a lot of smoke around, and there's certainly a lot of raised dust as well with that strong wind yesterday, so please drive with the conditions and be careful on the roads.
Health SA is warning residents with chest or heart conditions to stay indoors.
It's about staying indoors, closing your windows if you're asthmatic or have respiratory condition, to keep yourself safe. If you have a heart condition, again, you need to keep yourself safe by having the windows shut.
Vulnerable community members such as the elderly are also at risk, but symptoms can take days to appear.
It can cause the itchy eyes, sore eyes, irritated throat, breathlessness, dizziness, and sometimes it doesn't happen straight away. Sometimes it can be, 5 days or so down the track.
Authorities warn that it's just the beginning of emergency weather conditions, with more hot weather predicted next week.
Certainly we do get periods of extreme heat on a regular basis, and it's about preparing for that heat and having plans in place and making sure your air conditioners are working effectively.
To find somewhere cool to go, there's usually places that you can go to. So often hospitals, libraries, shopping centres will have air conditioning, and it's free to sit in there.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Port Lincoln and Lower Eyre Peninsula Council have joined forces to help with the recovery effort of last week's devastating bushfire. Councillors from the two districts are set to visit affected properties to check in with residents, as well as provide information on vegetation removal and health effects from the fire.
We want to put a personal face to see how people are going and let them know that we're here for them, and to see what we can do to help them get through this.
It's not about where the line is, it's about making sure that the communities of both councils are looked after. That's the key element, I think.
Waste from affected properties can be delivered to the Port Lincoln transfer station. Christmas arrived early for dozens of children in Port Lincoln today, with the Jolly Man himself making a guest appearance at a special pre-festive season event. The annual event, organised by Variety SA, aims to spread some festive cheer for sick and disadvantaged children.
A Christmas party like no other, with 80 children from across the peninsula joining in. Whether it was grooving to Dancing Queen or battling it out in a sword fight, today was all about having fun.
Meeting new friends, it's a great experience.
Yeah, it's really fun. This is my second year I've been here. I like meeting new people.
It's just their chance to come and just dance and be themselves and have fun, and we've got kids in wheelchairs up on the dance floor boogieing with other kids.
It's the 5th year Variety have held its Christmas party, attracting children, parents and carers from Tumby Bay and Elliston and everywhere in between.
To make friends and making sword fighting, food. Yeah, it's really fun.
There was a bit of chaos, but that's all part of the fun, with face painting, bowling and balloons keeping everyone busy.
I love the colours and I love making children happy, and I know I'm in luck when a child's excited to see a sword, because I love making really crazy and cartoony type balloon creations.
Getting all the balloons, it's so much fun.
This is the best day of the year for a lot of us, of what we do, so it's very exciting. Everyone's excited. It's a feel-good day.
But there was someone important who was missing from the party for a short time.
Are you excited to see Father Christmas?
Yeah, very.
Well, it's the moment everyone's been waiting for. The big man himself has just arrived. He didn't decide to come down the chimney this time, saving that for Christmas night, which is only 33 sleeps away.
I've got so many places to be, but I love having a dance, love spending time with the kids.
Merry Christmas!
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
The Aboriginal Action Plan has assisted Aboriginal-owned businesses in Port Augusta by hosting a workshop for locals. The event held for those looking for work and those with business ideas. The aim to help foster businesses get on their feet.
The key thing is assisting the Aboriginal community, because it's a proven fact that Aboriginal-owned businesses are 60 times more likely to employ Aboriginal people in their workforce.
Those who miss the workshops but are interested in developing a business plan can contact the Office of the Industry Advocate for more information. A 43-year-old man has been charged with serious criminal trespass and attempted theft after allegedly entering a Port Pirie home on Monday morning. Police were called to a house on Nelson Street in Risdon Park just after 9 after the owners returned home to find a male in their backyard. Police allege the man had rummaged through the home and left empty-handed. He's due to appear in court in January. Still to come tonight, a Broken Hill woman knits some very cute mittens for koalas impacted by fires, and a couple of Port Lincoln mates commit to driving thousands of kilometres in an old car around Australia for charity. Hello again. As the bushfire disaster continues across 3 Australian states, one Broken Hill woman is taking matters into her own hands to help some of the injured wildlife. Lee Johnston has been moved so much by the devastating images of the injured koalas, she's putting her sewing skills to good use.
Lee Johnston is in her element, sewing for an important cause. The Broken Hill woman keeping very busy making mittens for koalas who have been singed by bushfires tearing through their habitats in New South Wales and Queensland. She started the work on Friday after her niece called with the idea.
She lives in Yeppoon where the fires were last week, so I thought I have to do this after seeing some burnt koalas on Facebook.
They don't happen quickly though. Lee has to cut the material, sew the pieces together, and of course finish them with a piece of ribbon. Her soft spot for animals is all the motivation she needs.
Sending 40 up to the wildlife sanctuary up at Mount Gravatt, and the other I want to send to the koala hospital at Port Macquarie.
Lee first learnt to sew with her grandmother when she was only 8 years old, developing her skills on an old-fashioned treadle machine.
Made things for my daughter when she was small, dresses and stuff for my sons, a prom dress for my daughters.
Lee says she's happy her hobby is helping animals who can't help themselves. Anyone looking to volunteer their sewing skills can visit the Rescue Craft Collective Facebook page. Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Golf News.
The Port Pirie Council is calling for the community to provide feedback and input on future changes to the town. A public consultation on a survey to be completed by residents was held in Crystal Brook today.
We have to behave on behalf of you. So if you're at all thinking about it, you've got a bit of spare time, please drop in and give your ideas to the elected members or council officers that are at that stage.
More information can be found on the council's website. A drag queen trivia night will be held in Broken Hill at the end of the month as part of World AIDS Day. The Far West Local Health District says the fundraising event aims to raise awareness of the disease. The night will feature a number of different activities, with all money raised going to the local Headspace office. For more information, contact the Broken Hill Musicians Club. A Broken Hill art organisation is offering free canvases to Indigenous artists in the Far West. The initiative coincides with an annual competition which is running in the region.
Entries are now open for the annual Mari Ma Indigenous Art Awards. $10,000 worth of prizes are available for its 10-year anniversary.
People have to be Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander and have to live in the Far West.
Running alongside the competition is an annual support program from West Darling Arts. The organisation has more than 30 blank canvases in its possession and is offering them to artists looking to enter the contest.
particularly for the outlying Aboriginal communities, particularly like in Wilcannia and Menindee, where, you know, they don't have shops and they don't have, you know, it's hard to get your hands on materials.
Miss Farry says if people really want to make art, they'll find a way to do it, whether it be on old shovels and saws to plain cardboard.
Part of the problem with that is that they're not archivally sound, so that means they'll deteriorate very quickly with age.
There's plenty of time to claim a canvas. Entries for the competition will be open until the 18th of February. Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The Regional Development Australia Far North Board has appointed new members. Tonight, the boardroom will see 5 new faces along with 2 returning. The chairman is confident that this new mix will provide enthusiasm and some new skill sets to the organisation.
We've got people from tourism background, with people from commercial and sort of engineering backgrounds as well. So look, it's a really good spread of intellect around the table.
The meeting tonight will discuss how to strengthen existing industries and provide information on economic opportunities in the regions. 2 Port Lincoln friends are preparing for a race across the country, all in the name of cancer research. The annual rally challenges motorists to drive cars worth $1,000 along some of the country's most dangerous roads.
They're Port Lincoln's best mates who have stuck together through thick and thin, including their battles with cancer. Now Ross and Mike are preparing for their next team adventure, all in the name of charity.
I've looked at the Shitbox Rally over a number of years and realised that it'd be a lot of fun to do, and the fact that it's a good cause is even a bonus for us.
The annual event, called the Shitbox Rally, challenges drivers to achieve the unthinkable, using cars worth under $1,000 to drive through some of the country's most unforgiving landscapes.
We've got to get ourselves to Alice Springs, where the start line is, so we've got to drive there to start with, and then we've got to get to the Gold Coast over a week via the Gulf of Carpentaria.
Over 6 days, the team will travel more than 4,000 kilometres in their trusty Ford Falcon, raising funds for cancer research. The important cause hits close to home for the guys, with Mike going under the knife just last week to remove more cancerous spots.
Most cancers were a death sentence, 40, 50 years ago, whereas now the recovery rate from lots of them is an awful lot better, and it's not a death sentence, and that's partly because of the research.
According to Cancer Council, 1 in 2 Australians will be diagnosed with cancer by their 80s. They say the deadly disease remains the leading cause of death in the nation.
I'd say the majority of my friends have had something dug out. It's all right when you're your age, but my age is a whole different ballgame.
The Box Rally hopes to raise more than $2 million for cancer research. You can support the team by visiting their Facebook page. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Good luck to them. Stay with us after the break. We'll have this week's fishing tips and the weather with Britt. Hello again. Now let's hear from the experts with this week's fishing tips.
Welcome another week around the Gulf Fishing Tips from Port Pirie. This crazy weather's really been driving us insane, hasn't it? But the one thing is that it stirs up the bottom with a bit of wind that we've been having, and the heat wave that we just had on the Wednesday has actually brought the yellowfin whiting back in. The cooler weather will make it more applicable for us to go out and catch a feed. So I've looked along Talawi Beach, Barrows Beach, and right up to Yatala Harbour. That's about all we've got, but I do know that there's still a few kingfish floating around in Port Augusta, so keep that in mind. That's all we've got this week. We'll see you next week.
G'day and welcome to the Fishing Tips from Port Augusta, Jewel of the North. Well, summer's definitely here at the moment, and that means crabs, and there's heaps of crabs around at the moment. There's some salmon around as well if you're trying for salmon, and they've been used for kingfish bait as well, so there's still a few kingfish getting around. Up around the train bridge and also down around the powerhouse seems to be the most popular spots, but you can bet they'd be around Port Patterson as well. There's some silver whiting, try the really low tides over in the Flinders Channel. That's all we have from the Jewel of the North.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. We'll start over at Coffin Bay, and there's been some good reports coming through. The town jetty has some salmon trout and some trevally, especially when the pilchard boats have been unloading. Over at the boat ramp there's been some nice tommies caught off of the pontoons there, and there's also a few snook in that area too. For the boaties there's been some whiting catches out at Farm Beach and up towards Gallipoli. And there have been a couple of gummy sharks mixed in with the whiting over that way. Well, that's all for this week. We'll see you again with more tips next week.
And time to take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Britt Aylan.
Thanks, Louise. Mild and partly cloudy conditions throughout most of the region today, with a sprinkling of rain about the lower Eyre Peninsula. Broken Hill still hot and windy, reaching 41 degrees. Port Augusta and Port Pirie 24 today. Whyalla 22, Adelaide 21, Port Lincoln 19. From the satellite today, cloud moving across the region ahead of a low pressure trough and cold front. Looking ahead to tomorrow, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Southerly winds tending southwesterly at around 20 knots with seas at 3 metres. And it's looking to be a mostly sunny day. Broken Hill 29, Port Augusta, Woodna and Corn 27, Port Pirie 25, a top of 23 degrees at Whyalla, Clare, Cleve and Kadina, Adelaide 22, Port Lincoln 19, Coffin Bay 18. To the weekend, a partly cloudy forecast for both Port Lincoln and Woodna. Cleve fine on Saturday, sunny on Sunday. Port Augusta looking bright and sunny across the weekend. Whyalla and Kadina both partly cloudy on Saturday but sunny on Sunday. A fine start to the weekend at Port Pirie and Clare with a sunny day expected on Sunday. And finally to Broken Hill, where it's looking bright and sunny across the weekend. And Louise, that brings us to the end of the forecast. It's back to you.
All right, thank you for that, Britt. And that's your local news this Thursday evening. Thank you for joining us today. We'll have updates later, but until then, have a lovely evening. Good night.